brotherman Bill is a brother living at the top of the hill.
If you've been on the internet for any period of time, there's a pretty good chance you've heard the song Brotherman Bill. It's got about 5 million views on YouTube as of the time of this recording, and it's just one of those things that keeps popping up across different fan bases. Every few years it kind of seems to have a resurgence. One of the first places I heard it was a Mega 64. They were doing a convention and they played it, and that was way back in the day. The most recent one I think is some Hearthstone streamer. That being said, if Brotherman Bill is the beginning and ending of your exposure to TerribleTim, you are doing yourself a massive disservice. I'm entirely serious when I say that he is one of my favorite musical artists. Just to give you a bit of a better understanding, I'm going to pull up my phone here, and I'm going to go through a playlist that TerribleTim is on, and I'm going to read out some of the other musicians that I have on that playlist, just to give you an idea of what caliber I think his music is. Ween, Iggy Pop, The Kinks, Tom Waits, Tears for Fears, Kanye West. Shout out to Kanye for liking Jewish people again. The Clash, Joy Division, Jethro Tull. I just think he's that fucking good. I know that might sound unconvincing or that like I'm joking or something, so the only way I can convince you is to play one of his songs in full. It's 2.5 minutes long. We're just gonna fucking listen to it. Strap the fuck in.
Got it up to full throttle. Never got his life from any drug or liquor bottle. This is as high as you could get without actually being dead. Got to keep that nitrous flowing up into your head. Gotta keep that nitrous oxide high. High. Hello. It's alright. It's alright. It's alright. And here we go. And now the nitro copter's landing on the nitro pad. You don't need rotor blades, you're floating on the nitro air. Location of the destination soon to be unfurled. I need nitrous oxide so that I can rerun your world. Gotta keep that nitrous oxide high. High. Hello. It's alright. It's alright. And here we go. And now the pressure gauge is showing you you're low on air. You're at full throttle for the moment, though you do not care. Your fellow airmen are around you, falling to the ground. The devil exhales and nitrous oxide is what comes out. Gotta keep that nitrous oxide high. High. Hello. It's alright. It's alright. And here we go. Turn up the nozzle, got it up to full throttle. You never got his life from any drug or liquor bottle. This is as high as you could get without actually being dead. You've got to keep that nitrous flowing up into your head. You've got to keep that nitrous oxide high. High. Hello. It's alright. It's alright. It's alright. And now we're gone, 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 gone.
So this is going to be a bit of a telling of the story of TerribleTim. I'm doing this shit off the dome. I don't prepare for these fucking videos, so I'm probably going to miss a few things. He unfortunately passed away recently, and he is one of the most underrated musicians on planet Earth. I'll do a fucking full Anthony Fantano review of both of his albums because nobody else is going to. Let's get started with a bit of a background. If he had a Wikipedia page, the early life section would be kind of like this. TerribleTim, birth name Timothy Sinsheimer, was born in Brooklyn, and at the age of 7 or 8, his family moved to Staten Island, where he would remain until his death. In the early to mid-90s, he started showing up on various local Staten Island public access shows.
But we got a free 1-year subscription to Metal Edge magazine, and TerribleTim, I'm giving it to you. Brother man,
Because you're a good man?
this is a most generous offering to the leader of the Terrible Tim Nation.
If I'm not mistaken, he had his own public access show. As far as I know, that's the Lost Media. Brotherman Bill, in fact, was a producer on the Johnny P Show, which was a local Staten Island show. In the mid-90s, Tim releases his first album, TerribleTim Spreads Love. I will now review the album. Hey guys, Anthony Fantano here, the internet's most retarded pussy bitch. It's difficult to review perfection. I apologize if I'm just kind of saying, oh, this fucking song rocks, this song rocks. There's more to talk about with the second album when we get to that, but this album, it's so fucking solid. It's very consistent. The biggest problem, hands down, with the album is the mixing. There's a lot of like weird decisions made with the mix where kind of everything is tilted slightly to the left on songs like the Timothy Rock. It's not mixed very well, and it's a shame. This problem is mitigated if you have speakers and you're not using headphones. All right, let's go through the fucking track list here. What do we got? We start off with an opening track called Timothy's Terrible Tunes Represent, which is just intended to get you into the groove of the album. Then we have Nitrous Oxide, which is the track that you heard earlier. Then we have Marvin Weinberg. Which I would say is my second favorite track on the record. My favorite line is, "Being retarded is like being insane." Then we have Drinking Beer, a short one, but very, very sweet. Next up, we have Amanda. It's a bit of a love song, more of a insane obsession song, but you know, that's what most love songs are. After that, we have Terrible Farmer, where he talks about growing weed, collecting up the market, and lowering the price. My favorite lyric is, "Terrible Tim will get you higher than that. Physically and lyrically, he is fat." Then we have the Timothy Rock, which is kind of a straightforward rock song. Very, very nice chord progression on this one. Then we have Brotherman Bill, which everyone has already heard. Then we have a very, very somber reflection on religion called Life After Death, in which he states that there is no life after death. Naturally, the song you want to put after that is Blunted.
I want to get blunted, so break out the blunt.
In the middle of this song, he launches into a fucking killer guitar solo, and then he goes, "Represent! Represent!" We reach the final track here, and it's called Manic Depression, where he talks about, I'm assuming from personal experience, of having manic depression and having thoughts of suicide, not leaving his mind. It's very sad. The track is about 18 minutes long, but him singing about the manic depression ends about, I believe, four minutes in, and then there's a break. And I'm assuming ending such a kind of cheerful, for the most part, rock album on a downer was improper. So he just plays the song Blunted again, as if to say, I do get depressed, I do have depression, I do think about suicide, but at the end of the day, I just want to get blunted. That's about it for Terrible Tim Spreads Love. So the album came out, and Tim returns his focus to live performance, doing open mics at local Staten Island bars, and becomes a bit of a local legend. Some time passes, and he releases his second album, Hardcore, Sick, and Terrible. This one has much higher highs than the first one, but much lower lows. And before we talk about the album, I need to talk about a guy named Jay Miller, another one of these local Staten Island characters that had a public access show in the 90s. And he was also an open mic comedian, and he did a lot of shows with Tim. A bit of a rivalry developed between the two. Jay Miller, I think, works on Impractical Jokers now, which is some fucking show. I've never seen it, but it's apparently... he's like a producer on it or something. So the first song on Hardcore, Sick, and Terrible is called Jay Miller.
Jay Miller is back on the scene. Break out the jumbo size Vaseline. Jay Miller is back on the set. Jay Miller practices toilet sex. Jay Miller.
Much like Timothy's Terrible Tunes Represent, it sets the tone for the rest of the album, but in a much different way. Immediately, we see that Tim has become a bit of a potty mouth in the years between Terrible Tim Spreads Love and Hardcore, Sick, and Terrible, which is good for some of the songs on the album, but in the beginning to the middle section of this album, it starts to get grating. The next two songs on the album are called The Sore and The Big Bad Terrible Tim, which are kind of minimal but also very repetitive. Terrible Tim's thing picks up a little bit, especially because it starts off with the line, Terrible Tim's penis. But it really picks up with Terrible Tim's World, which has a kazoo-heavy chorus, which is, of course, one of his hallmarks. And the lyrics kind of sneak up on you in a funny way. There's a lot more instrumentation compared to the other ones. After that, the 6th song on the album is called Patron Saint. And after being bombarded with profanities for 5 songs, there's absolutely 0 swears. There's just a childlike kind of earnestness and sincerity to it. He talks about sending one of his songs to a DJ called Rich Rousseau and getting played on the radio. Every single irritation that you've experienced up until that point melts away completely because of this kind of beautiful, sincere sentiment of just being happy that you got played on the radio. One of his best tracks. After that, we have Don't Stop, which is similar to The Sore or The Big Bad Terrible Tim, where it's just kind of very repetitive, and I'm not really a big fan of it. Then we have Gargle, Gag, and Gurgle. My favorite line from that is the chorus, Gargle, Gag, and Gurgle on my chode. Just fantastic, very catchy, great off-tempo piano solo, MIDI piano solo at the end. Another song that is one of his best. The second half of the album really picks up here. You've got to give it up to Terrible Tim. The real star of this song are the drums.
A terrible Timmy got squeezed at you like a toothpaste tube. Gargle like you, swallow it too, get in you. You've got to give it up to Terrible Tim.
Then we have Life After Death again. It's a second version with different instrumentation than the first one, and it adds a couple of extra verses at the end. This song, along with there's another version of Beer, which also adds a couple of verses later on in the album. I prefer the original ones, but they are nice for their extra verses, and the different instrumentation is also a welcome change of pace. And then after that, we have the Lana song, which is a bit of a breakup song, I think. Then we have Homeless Bob, who lives in the Brotherman Bill's backyard, which has a very funky and very sick guitar solo. Tim's versatility when he has actual production is really remarkable. The closing track, Brokeback Mountain, and I'm sure you can imagine what that's about. I'll just say the opening line, one of the strongest opening lines to any song I've ever heard.
There's a cowboy on your back, there's pressure on your ass crack.
And that's hardcore sick and terrible. In addition to the albums, he also has an eclectic collection of singles, which you can find on his YouTube channel. One of my favorite ones is What to Do About All That Doo-Doo.
What to do, what to do, what to do about all that do, what to do about all that do.
After he releases his second album, he continues doing his legendary open mics across Staten Island. Now we're going to skip forward to 2020. I don't know if you remember this, but there was a pandemic, and it would be remiss of me if I didn't address Tim's... We all know artists can be eccentric, okay? We know artists can be a little weird.
I follow the statistic. Hardly anybody died from the fake bug. Fake as fuck. Fake as fuck.
The guy was nuts.
Nobody died. Nobody died. It's fake as fuck. Fake as fuck. Nobody died.
He's a bit of a borderline schizophrenic, if you ask me.
I'm with you guys. But don't say no one died. People died.
Nobody died.
Listen, he's everyone, artists, they're eccentric. They're eccentric, okay? During COVID, he started making songs about the phony fake bug. And guess what? They're fucking sick.
It's a corona. Everybody do the corona. Do the corona. Everybody do the corona.
Truly an unstoppable machine of catchiness. Hey guys, a bit of a follow-up here. I'm filming this on my phone, so that's why I sound different. But I've been kind of thinking about why I love Terrible Tim so much, besides the fact that all of his songs are really good. And I figured out that it's because even though I love music, I hate the music industry as a whole. And most importantly, I hate musicians. They tend to be fucking self-centered narcissists, because they always do, like, if they do a fucking interview, like, how many fucking interviews out there exist of some British guy in a band that are, like, moodily lit, and the guy's just fucking sitting there going, like, oh, it's just, I was just, me and the boys in the band, we were just playing a tune. We were just playing a tune, and then I played a bit of a riff, and I thought that's so powerful. It's such a powerful. I heard the name Ice Spice at one point, and I looked up who she was, and her music is basically just like the shit Taylor Swift has been doing for fucking for 20 years. But there was some fucking interview, and she was like, I don't know, boys are cool, but girls give off goddess energy. Which is such a fucking, not to make this like a gender thing, because it really isn't. It's more of a, like, the level of narcissism you would have to say something like that, unironically. And I understand that part of that is that you're trying to appeal to, the audience for your music is teenage girls. It's kind of like a boys have cooties kind of thing, but even still, I can really only think of two groups of people that would have the gall to say something like that, and that's musicians and actors. Those are the two professions that I can see saying some fucking bullshit like, we just give off goddess energy. Yeah, I just give off goddess energy. That's insane to me that you would say that, because you're less important than garbage men. Legitimately, you're less important than plumbers, garbage men. Fucking ditch diggers are more important than you. Just because you get paid millions of fucking dollars. Not in a, I don't mean that in a kind of communist hammer and sickle rose in bio on Twitter kind of way either. I just mean in terms of, like, you're not that fucking important. In comes fucking TerribleTim, a borderline schizophrenic guy, clearly on the autism spectrum. Songs about, like, just drinking beer and his friends, songs that are about coming and busting, and they're literally just as good, if not better, than any of these fucking people going on fucking interviews talking about how fucking amazing they are and how everybody should be sucking them off and all that. And there's probably a lot of people out there that would be like, well, you know, music has saved my life. I was on the verge of suicide, and then I got brought back through fucking music, or music helped me out through a really hard time in my life. And I mean, I've had those experiences too. Again, I love music. I think there's, like, very few things in life that are better than dropping 300 micrograms and putting on fucking Electric Ladyland or whatever. But to the people who would say that, I would say, imagine how much you would want to kill yourself if fucking garbage men didn't exist. Imagine how much you would want to kill yourself if there were no plumbers on Earth and you had to do your own plumbing. Alright, that's it, boys. I'll see you in fucking hell. For some reason, the second album is released under a different name. He released it under Timothy Sinsheimer instead of TerribleTim. So if you're looking it up on, like, Spotify or YouTube or something, it's under a different name. But yeah, so anyway, unfortunately, he died about 1.5 years ago. I believe it was of a heart attack. But yeah, that's it. Go fucking, if you still haven't paused this video to go listen to all of his albums, go listen to them. Rest in peace. His legacy will live on through the incredible music that he's made. Hopefully, in death, he can finally be safe from the phony fake shows and the fake bugs and all the other things that seemed to really bother him while he was alive. Play us out, big man.